So, ladies and gentlemen, the plot thickens, right? A couple of weeks ago, we heard that James Cook wanted $15 million average annual salary per year from the Buffalo Bills. And oh, damn, I completely didn't have the right audio on, baby. Bear with me here, folks. Apologies for people watching the replay, but I got to make sure that each and every single one of you have that crispy audio. We'll just start over. The plot thickens. Weeks and weeks and weeks, we were sitting there talking about James Cook, how he wanted $15 million. A lot of Bills Mafia was screaming at the sky, saying the audacity of this running back. How in the hell is James Cook going to ask for more money than Saquon Barkley? At the time, Saquon Barkley was only getting about $12.5 million a year as far as an average annual salary was concerned. Now, I hated that argument largely because Saquon Barkley was grossly underpaid prior to today's historic extension for the Philadelphia Eagles running back. Now this dude is getting paid close to $20 million per year, right? A $40 million contract extension. Saquon Barkley, for the most part, has reset the running back market. It is now the Saquon Barkleys of the world. It is now the Christian McCaffreys of the world, where they get the upper echelon pay for the NFL running back position. And once you also end up marrying the fact that the NFL salary cap increased to about $30 million or an additional $30 million this offseason, with signs of it doing the exact same thing for seasons to come each and every single year, $15 million in all essence doesn't sound too damn bad if you were to ask me. But on today's episode, we are going to look at, first off, how James Cook has been reacting to this. He has been very vocal, at least from a cryptic sense, on X. We are going to look at exactly what he has been putting out there. His social media activity since this $15 million this offseason has been very intriguing. And we're going to discuss whether or not I think Buffalo is going to give him a deal. Do me a favor once you're coming in, guys. Please smash that like button. It's the easiest way to show some love over here on the Dan Mitchell channel. If you are watching the replay of this video, I highly recommend that you turn on bell notifications once you subscribe, because I want you to be a part of my live chat community. I am going to be yapping for another 15 to 20 minutes. And then for the remainder of the show, I am going to turn it to the live chat where we get to engage and understand exactly what people are thinking about this James Cook situation. Smash that like button and make it happen. But as many of you guys know, Saquon Barkley signed an absolute deal today. All right, here are the specifics. Eagles are rewarding Saquon Barkley with a 2-year, $41.2 million contract extension that makes him the highest paid running back in the NFL, in NFL history, might I say. The deal makes Barkley the first running back ever to make over $20 million per year, $15 million in incentives, and the deal is structured as $36 million fully guaranteed at signing. And the Eagles are taking a rare step, blah, 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 and locking down their guy. So this is big. First off, I want to congratulate Saquon Barkley because the dude deserved it, right? He was the offense for the Philadelphia Eagles. I would say a large piece as into why they ended up making the Super Bowl. But I know a lot of us, as soon as when we saw this news break, the first thing that popped into our mind was, I wonder what James Cook has to say about this entire situation. Well, folks, you are looking at it directly. The second that it happened, we saw James Cook release a little eyeball emoji, essentially showing the world, being like, see, that running back ended up getting it. He's super important to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not asking for $20 million. I am asking for $15 million per season on an average annual salary. All right. And then trust me, he did not stop. Okay. He reacted to a Pat McAfee clip from his stream earlier today. In efforts not to get demonetized on this stream, I'm not going to play the clip by itself, but I can read you what he said. Sources, blah, blah, blah. Saquon Barkley, we heard that. $20.6 million average per year, $36 million guaranteed at signing, $15 million available in incentives. And then last but not least, you see, with James Cook, he's doing a shoulder shrug emoji that's sort of letting you know, hey, This is where the running back market is going to. What about me, Buffalo? What about me? And then afterwards, he ends up shedding light on his approval of this by saying it was good business. Have Ian Rappaport and then also his colleague over here discussing all of the intricacies of this player's his contract details, right? It's 2 years, 41.2, 36 million fully guaranteed at signing, and the highest 2 and 3 year cash in NFL history. 15 million in incentives is still live from last year. First 20 million running back in the NFL. Now, let me tell you what. I do not believe that James Cook wants to have a deal that is like Saquon Barkley's. I do not believe that he believes that he needs to be in line with the Christian McCaffreys of the world and the Saquon Barkleys of the world. But I think now that we saw that move from Philadelphia, when we saw the cap increase as significantly as it did, I think that number of him looking for an average $15 million per year makes a little bit more sense now. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to at least get closer to where they believe that he is worth, right? Because very much like the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles, like Saquon Barkley, like James Cook, Saquon had a wonderful offensive line to run behind. While he was in New York, while he was a New York Giant, he had a piss poor offensive line, hence why his production was still solid, but nowhere near to where it was. James Cook certainly benefits from a quality offensive line that is going into it right now, folks, right? And Spot Track, as we have pointed out during several of our conversations regarding this running back, has James Cook market valued at around $10.2 million average annual salary per year, a 4-year deal, $40 million, close to $41 million in totality of this said contract. Now, when I am looking at what I think Cook would take and something that I believe would be fair, right, would be a 3-year deal. A 3-year deal at around 15. If he wants 15 million average annual salary, then I would want to make it a 3-year deal, right? So that way it could be 45. We can guarantee about 20. List it off with incentives as well to help him get to said number, because I want to point something out, because I feel like anytime people start getting like right into these conversations and they look at that number, which I hate this number. I hate average annual salary because it is one of the most misleading financial metrics on the face of the planet. I want to point this out for you guys, right? When you see a $41.2 million contract extension, right? Like when you see this for a 2-year extension, blah, 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 it's $20 million per year. Great. Okay. When you see this number and you see 20 million AAV, all of these numbers that are put in here, right? $36 million is guaranteed. We get that. That is likely going to be at signing, his signing bonus. But it also goes into 15 million worth in incentives and escalators, meaning that he needs to ultimately end up hitting certain metrics in his career in order to meet all $41.2 million of this, right? So 36 million for 2 years for Saquon Barkley is more so. Let's go ahead and take a look at this, right? Is really only $18 million per year. So when it comes into it, right? All we need to do is just look at exactly what is fully guaranteed for this player. If Saquon wants to earn the full $41.2 million of his overall contract value, he needs to hit these incentives that will put into place the additional $15 million on top of his contract. So that's why I hate when people look at that $15 million per year average annual salary and they think, oh man, like that's going to screw us. Like 15 million of what we could spend this year. That's not the case, right? Because you could very well transition the vast majority of the value of said contract, put his salary down closer to about $1.2 million, $2.3 million, and then ultimately end up not having as significant of a cap hit going into the season. And what we could do with James Cook is get him at around, I don't know, $14 million for a 4-year deal, right? A little north of $40 million is what the contract value would be. And we ultimately end up guaranteeing about $25 million. I think that would get James Cook to stay. And once that $25 million is all said and done, folks, say, for example, he doesn't hit his incentives. Say, for example, he is not on the roster, or we see some sort of regression after year 2 or year 3. It doesn't matter, because there would be no further cap implication if the Buffalo Bills were to walk away from said running back. So it's interesting to see what James Cook had to say about all of this. I'm still under the impression that he is going to get somewhat of a deal this offseason. Again, I will continue to say it's very rare that you ultimately end up seeing a running back contract completely bankrupt the future of a team. That's more of an edge rusher contract, a quarterback contract. It's more of a wide receiver contract. A measly $15 million average annual value salary is not going to bankrupt the future of the Buffalo Bills. So anybody that is very against it, I wouldn't be. I would not be, right? That's my 2 cents. That is my 2 cents. Now, folks, this portion of the episode, I'm going to transition over to the live chat. Okay, so again, if you are watching the replay of this video, I highly recommend when you do subscribe, please do me a favor and turn on bell notifications, because I want you to be a part of this live chat community that we are about to be polling and seeing what everybody has to say. I do need to give a giant shout out to today's sponsor. That just so happens to be Kalshi. Folks, Kalshi is the #1 prediction market on the face of the planet. And when I say that you can bet on anything, you can literally bet on anything. All right. Kalshi right here will allow you to bet on crypto, will allow you to bet on politics, economics, companies, financials, weather, you name it. Like, for example, what will Trump say in his speech about the State of the Union? LA, Los Angeles, crypto, Bitcoin. Let's look at this. Will Trump declassify the Epstein documents in 100 days? All right. Let's go PSG versus Liverpool. Who is winning this game? They have all sports. They have everything. They just ended up launching sports. If, for example, you sign up, folks, and use code DONMAFIA, DONMAFIA, I'm going to be giving you a free $10 sign-up bonus simply just by signing up. And you can go on ahead and pick whatever you would like to take a look at. Shout out to Kalshi for sponsoring today's video. Great partner over there, and I cannot wait to work with them for the remainder of the off season. What is going on, folks? Smash that like button as you are coming in. Easiest way to show a little bit of love to the Dan Mitchell channel. Let's see what the people have to say about the James Cook contract situation. James is doing the same thing as his brother Dalvin is doing. Dalvin got a fair contract done with the Vikings. Hopefully Bills can do the exact same thing. So I really don't see a lot of risk right behind this. And I feel largely it has to do with the fact that this cap space is increasing in absurd numbers each and every single year. I think people are going to feel a hell of a lot better now that the running back market has all but increased significantly. Like $15 million a year, especially once we got from Saquon. And that was, like, quite frankly, the biggest argument point from anybody when we first heard that James Cook wanted $15 million a year. Everybody would say, oh, man, there's no way that he deserves more than Saquon Barkley. And at that point, like, dude was making $12.5 million, which was a gross underpay from the production that he was putting out on the field. A good contract for me for James Cook, I'd say would be close to $15 million, but would be like a 3-year deal. And we ultimately end up guaranteeing around $25 million to $28 million and make the rest of it incentives and escalators for him to achieve the full maturity of said contract, right? Because say that we just guarantee it, and say, for example, that after year 2 or year 3, it's just not working out, and we want to let him hit free agency, we want to let him go elsewhere, it would have very limited cap complications. So I've kind of shifted my overall thought process. And have no fear, guys. I feel like a lot of people are concerned that if we end up extending James Cook to a figure like that, that we're not going to be able to bring in Benford. We're not going to be able to extend Bernard. Is we're not going to be able to extend Josh Allen. It's not the case. It's really not the case. And it wouldn't even hold us back from potentially going out and bringing in some more free agent help this offseason by itself. So I get why some people are just like, oh man, like 15 million. It's really not that crazy in the grand scheme of things. We can score with anybody. We need defense. Anthony Pratt coming on in. I appreciate the insight, my friend. We certainly understand that the defense is going to be priority number one for this team. I think Brandon Beane is on it as far as focusing on the draft by itself. Easton is saying, I think Cook will be top 3 next year. 1 Barkley, 2 Jahmyr Gibbs, and 3 James Cook. I do think that he is just going to have the best season of his career next year. I really, really do. Dan, and do you see the Buffalo Bills signing Davante Adams? I'm going to save that video for tomorrow. Have no fear. We are going to unpack that in detail. In detail, my friend. Beth B. Dan, the Mafia Man. How we doing, bruh? Beth, I am doing fantastic. I hope you were enjoying your Tuesday afternoon. I'm so glad that you decided to join me for today's topic. Let's get it in. Dan, how do you feel about Dyami Brown? I mean, he would be like a bargain bin wide receiver, like option for us. I mean, I feel like I wouldn't be like, I'd say like super celebratory or anything close to that. But yeah, I mean, it would be cool. We won't heat anything about Myles Garrett or hear anything about Myles Garrett until after June 1st. However, Browns have expressed no want or interest in trading Myles. He wants out and they don't want to let him go. They will, but the reason that they're holding him hostage is quite frankly just based off of the fact that it would be grossly irresponsible for them to walk away because of the cap and excuse me, because of the cap implications that it would cause over in Cleveland. Maybe even Justin Reed would rather trade for Myles than extend Cook. But like, here's the deal, Mile. Like, so you can do both of those things. Like Myles Garrett, right? Like his base salary this year is $1.6 million. We wouldn't like eat anything of his said contract by itself. And a contract like Myles Garrett could very easily be a 4-year extension where we also end up giving him a massive signing bonus to equally spread it across the cap room by itself. It's not a if and or, right? It's not an and or situation. It's not a James Cook or Myles Garrett situation. It's not a Benford or Cook or Myles Garrett or Bernard. It's very possible with what this NFL salary cap is trending to that we could extend all of these damn players and still ultimately end up getting Myles Garrett on a deal. Like we are sitting here and we are not considering how crazy of a GM that Brandon Beane certainly is. So intriguing indeed. Dan, how do you feel about the Commanders wide receiver free agent, Dyami Brown? I mean, he'd be a bargain bin. So I'd be okay with it. So I think Adams would improve the Bills' passing game. No Davante Adams, need younger. We have Brucey. XO Put is saying, pay James $12 million. Worst comes to worst, we pick up a running back in the draft, but hopefully he gets paid. Look, see, I feel like he'd be fine with like 12, 13, but like what he's going to be looking for is guaranteed money. Guarantees is what he is truly looking for, because no one gives a shit about the average annual salary, because that is the most misleading financial metric you can find like on the internet. Like that 20 million that Saquon Barkley ended up getting, a lot of that is incentives.
And a lot of that is based off of whether or not that he's going to be on the roster. So something to consider. Let me see. Technically, we could wait on Cook. He still has a year on his contract from his rookie deal. I'm not saying don't pay him. We should, but we can wait. And so we can wait on Benford, and so we can wait on Bernard. We can wait on Cook. We can wait on Josh Allen. It just ultimately ends up depending. Dan, if we don't extend Cook, and do we draft a running back like maybe Genty or Scatabo? No, I don't see us going for a running back in the first or the second round, especially with number one, how deep this class is. And number two, I don't think that it would serve us, especially since we have Ray Davis as well. I'm calling it now. We will not have a first round pick this year. One of those elite edge rushers out there will be our first round pick. I am fine with that. Alternate is saying Darius Layton had the possibility to be an incredible receiver, and he is young. I don't want Adams. I'm sorry, but I think he's aging too quick at this point. I want Hollins back, and honestly, I'm not even opposed to Coop coming back. So I'm good on Amari Cooper. I'm also good on Devontae Adams. I do want Mac Hollins to come back, but I don't think that he should be a focal point of this offense. See, I feel like a lot of us have short memories, especially when it comes into players like Mac Hollins. Like, we only remember what he did for us lately. Like, he did drop a couple of very key passes at the beginning of the season, and that's not his fault. Like, he's a special teams guy. And he finished with, like 300 yards, 400 yards. I want Mac Hollins back for his locker room presence and his special team contributions, but I still believe that we do need to upgrade as far as a vertical separator. And I'm not saying that we go out and we spend top dollar. Like, I know that there is some section of Bills Mafia that is entertaining DK Metcalf. I'm good on that. But I do like a Hollywood Brown at $5 million a year. And so I do like a Brandon Cooks at like $3 million a year. I think we can address this and add even one more piece, one more role player to this offense. We're going to see. Have trust in Big Baller Bean. He's done well in the past. It could be worse, like the Jets. Brent, absolutely. You have no idea. Sometimes we have to look on the other side. The grass isn't always greener, folks. And I will say that there has been several off seasons where the Buffalo Bills had multiple players that were due a contract extension. We were all worried that they were not going to play for the Bills again, and Brandon Beane somehow figured out a way to keep everybody here. So don't sleep on what Beane can do with the cap. He is absolutely crazy. So imagine if Saquon gets injured week 1 because of a non-contact injury. We're certainly not wishing that. That would absolutely suck. A beast on special teams. He is. Listen. Love Mac Hollins. I think that is quite literally his biggest contribution to this team. And that's important because special teams has been a struggle for the Buffalo Bills for the past couple of years. Now, hopefully that we have a new coach, a new special teams coach. I feel like we need to bring back that personnel. Adams. I'm good. I'm good on Devontae Adams. Big Mac is a Bill for life. I don't care. It's just special teams and TDs. Absolutely sign him. Blank check. True, Dan. Mac did drop a few. He's a glue guy that we need. He is just in Buffalo. He fits so well here. I'm good on Metcalf too. Honestly, I love it. All right, Bills Mafia 1718. Hey, Dan, I'm just getting in to catch your updates. What's the word on the Cook extension? What did you hear? I hope they get it done, but don't break the bank. Go Bills. So right as you know, Saquon Barkley ended up getting paid a massive extension. He's the highest paid running back in NFL history. And we saw James Cook react to it on social media. A lot of emoji work, a lot of good business on the Philadelphia Eagles for appreciating running backs. So I have a feeling a deal is going to get done with him soon. I don't think it's going to be $20 million a year, but I do think it will be closer to the 15 that he had asked for, right? I would be happy with a $25 million fully guaranteed contract. Would be $13 million a year average annual salary, or 14, whatever. And then the back half of what could help him get to that full number would be laced with incentives and escalators for him to get it. So what I would like is $25 million fully guaranteed. Give him 14 million AAV. I think that's a solid deal. I really do. 90% of Cook's yards are a product of the offensive line. He can't block, which makes him a liability on third down. Alive it any way you want. He isn't even close to Saquon. It would be a massive mistake. Bills fans 7883. I think you could say the exact same thing about Saquon Barkley. He was behind the best offensive line in all of football, and he was not looking good for the New York Giants those last couple of years when he was behind that offensive line. As far as not being able to block, that's why the Buffalo Bills run a lot of jumbo packages, and that's why we typically have 6 offensive linemen out there like Alec Anderson as well. So we have an answer for that, right? Like our system doesn't require a blocking running back by really any stretch of the imagination. So I feel like people that are just like sitting here saying like, oh no, like we got to pay him $8 million a year. That's all he deserves. I think you need to account for how much the NFL salary cap in general is increasing each and every single year. And I also think that we need to consider that Saquon is nowhere near James Cook, which I agree. But I think that he ultimately ended up getting a deal which truly shows his value. He's at $20 million a year. And in the scheme of things, when you look at top running backs in the league right now, you have Saquon, you have Christian McCaffrey when he can stay healthy. Both of them are at $20 and $19 AAV. I think it's fair to assume that I would put James Cook at probably about like a top 5 running back this year. I really, really do. Like, dude was a touchdown machine for us. And think of how many games that we had to rely on James Cook, especially earlier on when Josh Allen's hand was broken and he couldn't be the Josh Allen that we knew. So I don't think that $15 million is as crazy as we have this conversation right now, since Saquon just got a record-breaking deal, because that was a hell of a lot more in line with what Saquon truly is valued at. I missed a damn super chat. Eminwari would look good as a versatile safety / linebacker. I like Eminwari, is one of my personal favorites that comes into it. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. You are the man. What did the salary cap go up to? It increased another $30 million. And they're projecting that it's going to do the exact same thing, perhaps even more for the next couple of years. That's why we're going to see a lot of massive contracts like the Saquon Barkley contract that just hit our board. As the NFL is scaling out, phasing out basic cable, and making us download a million different streaming services to watch NFL football, that transitions and that benefits this league as far as salary caps are concerned. So we'll see. Hard pass on Devontae Adams. No interest in these once glamorous wide receivers whose time has passed, but they want to get paid because of their name. Yeah, I have no interest there. If Cook gets paid $15 million per year, he better be closer to a 3 down back. We have Eric. It's not even so much that. It's just like how he's able to finish, right? Because I honestly think that when you have that ability to get into the end zone, and like, what did dude have this year? Like 15 plus touchdowns. Like, he is an absolute versatile weapon for this team, right? And it's not even so much about him as the running back, but it's how he fits our system, right? Like, we love Ray Davis. Like, I thought he did pretty good right within our system. But here's my take on this, right? If, for example, that we thought that James Cook would be replaceable, and it's not even from a fan perspective. Like, this is from a team perspective right here, folks. Don't you think that Ray Davis would have had a hell of a lot more snaps if, for example, that Buffalo didn't believe that James Cook was their best option, especially in red zone opportunities, especially in like just 20, 25 yards away from the end zone? Like, Ray Davis would have had a hell of a lot more opportunities this year if it were that close. Like, Ray Davis would have had a hell of a lot more opportunities in 2024 if it was exclusively our offensive line. I don't think that's crazy, right? So I'm not sitting here telling you that James Cook is Saquon Barkley. He is Derrick Henry. He is Christian McCaffrey. No, I'm not saying that. But I do think paying a guy that fits like a glove right within the system that we do run makes a little bit of sense. And guys, right in the grand scheme of things as well, again, $15 million is nothing compared to what some of these contracts look like for wide receivers, for edge rushers, for defensive tackles, for high quality offensive linemen. Like the market is so small for running backs. The distribution of salary cap is so minimal toward the running back position. I feel like we're looking at $15 million per year and like we're thinking like, oh my God, like this is going to be a Daniel Jones QB $45 million a year sort of situation. An NFL organization, unless you're the New York Jets with Le'Veon Bell, is not going to financially screw your organization for the foreseeable future. It's just not, especially with how much the salary cap is going up. Make it 12 million with incentives to get up to 14 and a half. Absolutely. But the problem is that people will see a contract like that and see 14.5 million AAV. Again, my goal for everybody that is watching this, stop looking at this number. It is so misleading, and I don't want people to really look at this way. Don't look at average annual salary. Do not. It is the most misleading stat on the face of the planet. Don't do it. What you need to be looking at is fully guaranteed money. That is precisely what it is. Precisely. Folks, I love each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Dom Mafia Live. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you tomorrow. Deuces.